Thanks for stopping by again. This is going to be the last couple episodes on the kitchen table. I've decided to break this up into 2 episodes because as one it would have probably been close to 20 minutes and I just felt that was a little bit too long to watch a video. So I broke this up into 2. Watch them at your leisure. I hope you enjoy them. In this episode we're going to finish milling some of the wood, the aprons, and get those fitted into the legs, and we'll start the finishing. So stay tuned and we'll get started. So here I am. I'm going to trim off a bit off the ends here at an angle just because I didn't like the way it looked when I dry assembled it. And I realized that depending on which way the boards are oriented will determine whether the angle goes this way or this way. So I assembled it on my table saw top here, and I drew some numbers at the intersections so that when I go to assemble the table I know that these fit in this orientation. And on each board I drew a line with the direction the angle needs to go. So now I'll disassemble this and cut those angles on my miter saw. Alright, so I'm going to take just 3/8 of an inch off the end of these and cut them at an angle. So I've got my stop block set up here so I can cut them all at the same distance from the end. I'll run the miter saw down and we'll get all the ends cut on one side. Then I'll have to reset my stop block because once I cut this end off it's going to be a little bit shorter. And so I'll reset the stop block and then we will cut the other sides. So one thing I forgot I need to do is to drill a hole through the aprons on center through both aprons. That way I can run a screw through the aprons and into the top of the legs to help secure everything together. So I'm going to start finishing the top and the aprons. And I taped off on the aprons where I do not want to get finish. I've got a very tight tolerance where those are inserted into the top of the legs. And I'm concerned if I get 7 or 8 coats of finish on there, they will no longer fit. So here's everything after just one coat. I'll do a light sanding in between coats and probably put another 6 or 7 on there. That cherry really pops nicely once you start putting some finish on it. So let me get a few more coats on here and I'll bring you back after that. All right, take 2. Again, I forgot to plug the microphone into the camera. So let me bring you up to speed with where I'm at right now. I brought everything into the basement. I had to bring it downstairs because the weather's taking a turn and it's a bit too cold out in the garage to do any finishing. So I brought what I don't have done down here. This is the top side of the top. The bottom, I've already put 3 coats on there, and with each of those coats I did the edge. I'm also doing the edge each time I do the top because I feel that's going to get a lot of wear and I want to have a good build-up of finish there. Also, 2 of the edges are in grain, so they're really absorbing the finish also. I've got the legs here, which have 1 coat each on the legs. I'm probably going to go to 3 or 4 coats on these. I'll see how they look as we progress. I've got the aprons finished and I'm pretty happy with how they turned out. I hope you can see that finish a bit. But as I stated in the previous video, I did tape this area off because it's already a pretty snug fit in the legs, and I was concerned if I get a buildup of the finish on there that they won't fit anymore. So what I need to do next is to sand the top down with 400 grit sandpaper. That will eliminate a few of the nubs that I can feel as I rub my hands over it. After that, I'll just put a coat on here and see how it feels. If it feels pretty smooth, I won't sand it again. If it feels like it needs it, I'll do it again. I'm using 400 grit sandpaper and a sandy block to keep it flat on the table. And to put the finish on, I'm using just these sponge brushes. You can use a cloth, a regular brush, sponge brush. I like these because they leave a pretty good smooth finish and they're cheap. I can throw them away rather than having to clean them up afterwards. After sanding, we're going to use a tack cloth to wipe up all the dust to get a nice clean top again before we lay down the next layer of finish. So I'll get started going with that. Hope you stick around. So like I was saying, I wanted to keep these a little bit shorter so I don't consume too much of your time today. I hope you enjoyed that video. That cherry really starts to pop once you put the wipe-on poly on it. And when you see the finished product in the end, I think you'll really agree with how good it turned out. So I'll see you on the next one. That'll be finishing up the table and assembly, and we'll show you it all done and in the kitchen. Thanks for stopping by. Have a great day.